Putting my shoes on. How are you doing? I just got a nip out. Just a quick check-in this morning to talk about signs of visual progress and what that means. First question is, do you feel like you're getting any progress? The second question is, how do you know when you're getting progress? What are the signs? When I think about anyone that wants to get quick results, I always talk about my brother. He's always after everything he's ever done has been, let's call it a get-rich-quick scheme or something that doesn't involve putting in more than about 3 weeks worth of work. Right? No, I'm being unkind there. He might do a couple of months and then knock it on the head, whatever, right? And then if I think about myself, the things that I've been involved with, a decade, maybe even 2 decades, if I think about, even longer than that at times, a long time, basically, a very, very long time. So it's very hard to see daily progress. Like, you can always get a little win, each day. What's that notification? You can always see little wins that come up, but even little wins, like you make a sale, you've always got to look at, well, how did you make that sale? Even if it was like £20 or something small, how did you make that sale? There must be so much work that has led up to that sale. Unless you, I'm not talking about something simple like you're just selling some stuff on eBay or whatever. I'm talking like a genuine business sale here. You've made your first sale and it's a small number, right? And that very first one, totally different to like, I'm just selling my shit on eBay or, doing a bit of part-time selling. I'm talking, you're going into business, you're trying to make a sale, you've made your first sale. There is a lot of work that goes up, precedes that. It might be months, maybe even years in the making. You might have been thinking about this for 2 or 3 years. And when, like, in my sort of way of working, obviously, which I put into the journal, but the goal achievement system that I work towards, which is 3 parts to it. You create an identity for yourself that, is, you've got an existing identity. You want to do an identity shift to a new identity. You want to become this person. So you create that identity and you start, live in accordance to it every day, right? So you got the identity part. You then create some goals, which are like projects. Well, I'm going to have to do this. Maybe you use a life harmony model. So you're going to have a look at your categories of personal development, where you are, where you need to improve. Then you're going to create a goal in each of those areas that you need to improve to become that new identity. And then every day you're going to choose 3 small things to work on each day. And then you keep moving forward. So that's my system: identity, goals, daily action, three daily steps. Now that is not, you could use that for something that is like a week's worth of work. You could, right? But really that system of continuous improvement, continuously working each day, is better suited to a long commitment to that identity. So you're committing to that identity. It doesn't have to be like your whole life, but you're going to commit to it. Maybe it's like 2 years to 5 years, or maybe even 10 years. Because we change, we change every 6 months or so. Maybe we change every day. But you're going to commit to that identity. So it lends itself to, whilst you want quick results, it's more about the journey. So it lends itself to a journey rather than just getting a particular result. And that's the sort of exciting thing about identity. It's like once you start living in accordance with it, it feels great already. And the other thing is, not only does it feel great, I'll tell you why it feels great is because if you create that identity and you start living in accordance with it, with good habits and things that are in alignment, you're already living life on your terms, and it's very empowering. And that journey there is so much more powerful than, say, I don't know, just having a monetary goal. How are you doing? You okay? Just having a monetary goal, just like I'm just going to make X amount of money, just randomly, that isn't attached to sort of an identity or a mission. I just don't see that working. So when you choose that identity, you're gonna kind of commit to it, and then it's a journey. How are you doing? Thank you for joining. So, so if you're going to commit to that identity, you're going to enjoy the journey. You're going to start living life on your terms. How do you know when, let's say, when you see some results? How are you going to know, right? In the journal, I put 3 review points, right? The first one, let's say, you create your identity, you set your goals, and then you're going to start working on it each day. You're going to choose 3 things a day. You're going to start working. After your first week, you ought to do a review. After a week, every day, choosing 3 things, small things. Are we back? Yeah. So after that first week, you're going to choose that. You start working. You're going to do a review after your first week. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. Just got a notification pop up on my phone. So you're going to do a review at the week, right? And all you're looking for is, how did it go? Working towards 3 things a day. And can you carry on? That is it. There is no progress at that point. You're just asking yourself, am I okay to carry on? Right. Does it sit well with you? Can you handle doing 3 small things a day? And can you carry on? Okay. If you can, carry on. Give yourself a little reward. Crack on. Your next review point ought to be 3 months. We work in quarters. Businesses work in quarters, like 3 months. The whole calendar's set around 4 quarters, 4 seasons. So we work in quarters. So your first big review will be 3 months. Now, at the 3-month point, you might still not see any. If your goal's huge, if it's a big transformation, a big identity shift, you might not see all the visual signs of progress. It's very difficult to see everything, but you will see some signs. But the biggest indicator at that point is well ingrained habits that are working in alignment to your identity. So you've nailed the living in accordance with your identity bit. That bit's nailed. You should be the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, the rituals, routines, and habits should be in alignment with that identity, and therefore you're living life on your terms. You might not have everything yet. You might not have the money or whatever you seek, or the body or whatever, or the relationship, whatever you're seeking, but you ought to have some visual signs of progress, right? And the biggest thing you'll see is that living in alignment to the identity with the habits. So the next, I would say, more of a major review point is at 6 months. At the 6-month mark, you should see some progress by that point, some visual progress, right? So if it was a business, you should see some initial sales activity. Depends on your sales cycle, because some businesses have a very long sales cycle, but essentially you should see something. You might not be flipping rolling in it, but you've got some results, right? If you're, and let's just have a look. So the 1 week is, can you do it? Right? Can you commit to doing 3 small things a day? The 3-month is more about, are my habits correct, and am I living in accordance with the identity that I choose for myself? So it's more about reinforcing habits. Is that nailed, right? And maybe you see some visual signs of progress. 6 months is when you first see progress, and that's it, right? So you've got these 3-month intervals. Now, if the goal is huge, it could take many years. So you just keep measuring, every 6 months. And this is why, like, at the back of the journal, I have this section called My Wins, because I always write down, and I've got loads of old journals. And one of the things when you write down your wins every 6 months, the reason why this is important is because you want to measure backwards, right? Measuring backwards is fantastic. And if you're writing it down every day and you're ticking 3 small things off a day, tick, 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 little things, right? If you've written it down and you ticked it off, it's fantastic at the end of that 6 months when you read it back. Because the problem is, we might not think we've got that far, but if you just record everything that you've achieved at the end of that 6 months and then everything at 12 months, you'll be absolutely really proud of yourself. It feels absolutely fantastic. You think, wow, I've done all this. I've started that. I've actually started the business. I've actually got my first sale. I've actually been in the gym and lost some weight, and I've got in some shape, and all these kind of things, right? Writing down all your wins is brilliant, because measuring backwards is great for gratitude. We always still want that big goal on the horizon, right? But the problem with that big goal on the horizon is on the horizon. And if you're future focused, you're in the want there, aren't you? You're in the gap, as Dan Sullivan calls it, in the gap and the gain. You're in the gap, you're worried about what you don't have. It's far better to write down all your wins at the end of the 6 months and measure backwards and be grateful for what you've got and what you've achieved. It's super empowering. So that is it. Sir, 21-day challenge is good or not for the first time? Of course, 21-day challenge. There are a lot of people, a lot of habit people, let's call them authors, that think it's 30 days to form a habit. That is if you do everything right. That is if you don't slip up once. The reason why I talk about 3 months as the first major review is because you're allowing for a few slip-ups. Let's say your first month, you set off a 21-day challenge, you think, I'm going to do it. And let's say you have a few slip-ups. Your 21-day challenge is blown out of the water, so try again next month. It tends to take a good 3 months to really nail your habits. Can you do it in 30 days? Yes, if you don't slip up. I think 60 to 90 days. And I think everything works in quarters. I talked a lot about this year about the business scorecard in entrepreneurial operating system, in the book Traction. Gino Wickman stuff. He's very good. The way he sets that up is, yes, you have daily review, weekly review, maybe monthly review with your business, but ultimately you're having quarterly reviews, and you create quarterly rocks, which are like goals, if you like. And that's what I did. That's what I believe in, quarterly reviews. And a 6-month review, think about the journal, it lasts 6 months, right? So you get 2 quarters, and it's good enough that your first quarter is checking habit formation and making sure you're on the right track. Yes, you might see some visual signs of progress, depending on what you're doing. After 6 months, that's when you first see some results. And you ought to write it down and measure backwards, because it's super empowering. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Listen, I've got to shoot, because also, all right, okay, I'll just answer this one. I have to shoot because I've got to go out. Let me have a look. Sir, I also want a job. If you have anything, please tell me. Not at the minute. Obviously, I've got a couple of businesses. I've got a lot of things on. I just don't. It's all allocated. But I don't even know where you are. But obviously, we can work with people all around the world now. What's really strange is most people now, in terms of jobs, work remotely, don't they? Everyone works remote. We work around the world. It's like the age of the freelancer, I guess. And the other thing I would say, in the UK right now, it's very difficult to employ someone as a small business. I don't know anyone that's doing that at the minute. The laws are absolutely ludicrous on employing someone now. So everyone just hires people as freelancers for part-time work. That's a bad thing, but anyway, that's how the law is, so kind of prevents it. I think they're even like, I don't want to go off on politics here, but it used to be that, you know, I've employed lots of people. They were on like a 2-year trial, you know, you could let them go. If it weren't working out, you could let someone go up to 2 years without paying them redundancy. I think they're fucking looking at scrapping that like from day one. Who the fuck's going to hire someone if you can't get rid of them if they turn out to be shite on day one? Absolutely crazy. You just end up promoting this 0 hours contract. No wonder no one's getting hired, because companies are frightened to hire people because they'll get took to court if it don't work out. It's like, what the fuck? You got to try someone, right? Anyway, I don't want to go off on a rant. But no, sorry. Happy to help you out. If you shoot me an email, happy to bounce some emails back and forward, talking about your work situation, see if I can help you. Yeah, if anyone needs any help. Listen, I've got to go. I've got to shoot. All right. Get rid of that fucking loads of notifications coming on. Yeah, just shoot me an email. Right. Hope that was useful. See you all next time.